Hey guys, welcome back to Not One Videos. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make these awesome little magnetic shields from Middle Earth. We've got Uruk Hai, we've got Gondor, and we've got Rohan, as well as more generic sword and shields. So these were all carved from XPS foam, and this is part of a little challenge that I've been running over on my Discord, where I challenge people to make a mini sword and shields that could fit in the palm of your hand. And everyone's come at the project from completely different angles, used different materials, etc. So I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how I made mine, and then we're going to take a look at everybody's work from the Discord as well, because there's some awesome ideas, and I will also be linking up some of those different YouTube channels and Instagrams and stuff so that you guys can go and check them out as well. Alright, let's get started. So for anyone who's not a member of my Discord, this little challenge was set up to be a fun community activity with the hope that everyone who participated would come to the project from different angles and arrive at completely different and equally cool results. For me, I decided to employ a lot of the same materials and techniques that I use on a regular basis on my channel for dioramas and terrain. Obviously that means XPS foam, which is pretty much one of the coolest materials I have ever found to work with, and I'm still finding new things that you can do with it all of the time. Other people who have entered the challenge have taken a completely different approach to me, using everything from balsa wood to wire wrapping, and even using Blender to create their own STL files. So make sure to stick around to the end of the video to check out all of those awesome entries. I chose XPS foam specifically because of the versatility of the material. You can easily sand it, cut it, and most importantly for me, it takes texture like a charm, which is extremely useful when it comes to things like wood grain and rock textures. You can see here how easy it is to draw in the wood texture with a pen, and when it's painted up it will look fantastic. One new trick that I added to my bag while I was making these shields was using the end of a closed pen to press into the foam to simulate the rivets around the edge of the shield. I had previously considered using glue to stick on individual little circles of card for these, but punching in the rivets like this saved me a good half an hour at least. And again, when it's painted up it'll look great, especially after a dark wash that will seep into the recesses. When it comes to painting things like this, aside from the standard black paint and Mod Podge to seal the foam, it really is up to you how you go about it, and a matter of taste. I have included the colours that I used on screen for those interested, but I am constantly experimenting with my colours at the minute, and I would say still haven't really settled on any particular palette. I will be happily doing it one way for a period of time, and then I will see a member of the Crazy Crafter community coming along and doing something totally different with superb results, and I often don't even realise that I have made any changes until I see the results and I realise, oh, I picked up some new tips. This is a part of any project that I always really enjoy. In a few short steps, you take your piece from looking like foam to looking like something that is tangible and recognisable, and as you can see, one thing that I've been doing recently is adding dark washes at the end. When that wash goes on, it seeps into all of the grooves and just adds another level of depth and really makes it pop. Right, on to the swords, again cut from XPS foam, and here's another process that I've only picked up in recent months, sanding it. A while back on the Crazy Crafter livestream we were doing a Halloween build, and Daniel West created this bat-like creature out of foam, and I was a bit blown away by the results he got with the wings simply by taking his time and sanding it with a fine gritted sandpaper. I have been doing it ever since, and last month I used this method to make a dagger from Skyrim, which in turn kind of inspired this whole sword and shield challenge. For the painting I used my metallic set from Army Painter mini paints, nothing complex about this at all. I'm pretty much doing exactly what I'd be doing whenever I'm painting miniatures, only on a bigger scale. And the last step is simply gluing a magnet in place on the back so that you can stick your handiwork to your fridge. Okay, looking pretty good, but I'm not satisfied. Let's take this process to Middle Earth, starting by making a shield for the riders of Rohan. As you can see, I've pretty much followed the same method as before, except for this shield I have added some foam in the centre of the boss and also added some extra battle damage. In the Lord of the Rings, the Rohirrim are never far from a fight with dark forces, so I wanted this shield to look like it was fresh out of a battle with some savage orcs. When I googled Rohan shields, there were several different designs I could have chosen. I chose the two horses facing each other because I think it makes for a more iconic image, and the classic white horses is instantly recognisable as a symbol of the Rohirrim. I wanted to give the shield some damage that looked specifically like it came from orcs, so I decided to make some of these arrows to embed into the shield. There's something visceral and shudder-inducing about the look of orc arrows. They look like if they hit you and the blow itself didn't kill you, then you're more than likely going to die anyway from some putrid infection in your blood caused by the filth in the arrow. That's where having an awesome shield that not only protects you but looks totally badass comes in really handy.
One of my favourite moments in the whole of the Lord of the Rings film trilogy is at the Battle of Pelennor Fields, when the Rohirrim arrive at the scene and the host of Mordor stretched out before them. A seemingly impossible fight, but King Theoden rouses the courage and hopes in the Rohirrim with an awesome speech to charge to the aid of their neighbours who are in great need. Arise, arise, riders of Theoden, fell deeds awake, fire and slaughter, spears shall be shaken, shields shall be splintered, a sword day, a red day, ere the sun rises. Ride now, ride to Gondor. And speaking of Gondor, if you're a fan of the books of Tolkien and have delved into the likes of the Silmarillion, you might know a little bit about the history of the Tree of Gondor. The films don't really tell the story, so here it is in a nutshell. So the very first White Tree of Gondor came from a fruit that Isildur had stolen from the White Tree of Numenor, Nimloth the Fair, before Sauron had the tree destroyed. Isildur planted the seed and brought the sapling to Middle-earth, which he then planted in Minas Ithil in the courtyard of his home. Many years later, Sauron once again returned to Middle-earth and attacked Minas Ithil and again destroyed the White Tree, but not before Isildur managed to escape with a sapling from the tree. Having resettled in Minas Arnor as the counsel to his nephew Meneldiel, who was the ruler at the time, Isildur planted the sapling in memory of his brother Anarion. This White Tree stood until the Great Plague spread across Gondor in the age 1636. A third sapling was then replanted in the age 1640 by King Tarandor. After the line of kings had failed, which I'm sure you've heard about in the movies, the tree ceased to bear fruit and seldom flowered and finally withered and died in the age 2872. The supposedly dead tree was left standing in the courtyard of Minas Tirith until the king returns. Now, if you're a fan of the films, you will surely remember one of the final scenes where the free people of Middle-earth celebrate in the courtyard of Minas Tirith. So for me, this White Tree is a symbol of refusing to lay down and die. Even after suffering many defeats, the life within the tree prevails, and so does Gondor. But all of that could have been easily scuppered by those pesky Uruk Hai. Okay, it seemed totally inappropriate of me to make a video about Middle-earth shields and only focus on the good guys. When it comes to shields, I actually love the look and aesthetic that Weta Workshops managed to achieve in the movies. The Uruk Hai, when kitted out, looked like complete tanks, and you would be forgiven for soiling yourself when presented with the prospect of facing them in battle. So the term Uruk Hai actually translates as orc folk, and for me, I actually find it really confusing trying to figure out who exactly they were from the writings of Tolkien. Were they bred by Saruman, or were they already a breed of orc in their own right that were just manipulated in some way, or were they a mix between orcs and men? It's all very confusing. If you would like to delve a little further into the subject, my buddies Jake and James over at History of the Ages have a great video on the topic, and I will link it in the description below this video. One thing is for sure though, and that is the Uruk Hai were a terrifying foe to face on the battlefields of Middle-earth. One of my favourite scenes in the movie adaptation of the books is when the Fellowship have reached Amon Hen, the Uruk Hai bear down on the location and the party is scattered. The members of the Fellowship face their own individual battles as their stories begin to go their separate ways at this point, and Aragorn faces down the Uruk Hai captain Lurtz. Their fight scene is one of the coolest in the movies in my opinion, and there is a great seat of your pants moment when Lurtz manages to pin Aragorn to a tree by throwing one of the shields that I am making. A close shave for Aragorn, but Lurtz ultimately loses his head. As it happens, Lurtz doesn't even appear in the books, but just for that scene in the movie, I am fine with the addition to the plot. Anyway, out of the set that I have made, the Uruk Hai sword and shield were probably the easiest because most of the texturing was bumps, dents and grooves to simulate battle damage, and I was able to use pretty much exactly the same paint scheme on both the sword and the shield. This actually might be my favourite in the whole set, haven't made my mind up yet, but please let me know in the comments below this video which one you like the best. There we have my completed set of Middle-earth shields. Now it's time to delve into my Discord challenge and take a look at what the members over there have produced. The only premise for this challenge was that it had to be able to fit into the palm of your hand. People could use whatever material they wanted, and Tina Martins came at the project using XPS foam for the base, balsa wood for the shield, some dwarven rune detailing, bamboo skewers, a tiny cog, a disc and some fur pelt. As you can see, Tina used the foam and the bamboo skewers to create a base to display her piece, and when the project came together it ended up looking like this. An awesome dwarven shield on its mount, ready to be taken into battle. I love the look with that kind of Viking warrior vibe going on, and just to give you an idea of scale, here is Tina's shield beside a bottle of mini paints. Super tiny and awesome, challenge nailed. Next we are taking a look at Jim Worth's entry. Jim is a mini painter normally, but threw his hat into the mix with this awesome shield and sword inspired by his Chaos Warrior minis. which as it happens look fantastic too. Jim used cardboard as his main material, cutting out his detailing and gluing it into place, with the exception of the handle on the sword, which was blue tack wrapped around the handle and painted. Fine example of using what you have to hand. Great job, Jim. And on to Sondor from 1d6 crafting damage. Sondor took similar approach to myself, using foam to create a shield with wings as his wall mount. Now, the original premise of the challenge was it had to fit into your hand, so luckily Sander has big hands. Again, Sondor wanted to create a display for his piece, so he took it to the next level by creating this awesome dice tower complete with LED torches for effect. I love this build, Sondor. May it let you roll many nat 20s, or should I say 6s. Next up we have RandomJoJo from Snow Peas and Dragons. I love the planning that went into this design, and I love the use of toothpicks for the handles on the swords. The carved bird skull in the centre of the shield is also extremely cool. Now on Discord, RandomJoJo mentioned that it was really fiddly to make this and that there was a problem with the sword breaking at one point, but the end result was worth it. One of my favourite details is the way the black lines have been drawn in around the piece, which really makes the whole thing pop. Another fantastic entry to the challenge. Moving on and stepping into a Skyrim inspired build by the Mini Mason. Mini Mason again tackling this project with carved XPS foam but using clipped nail heads for the rivets, which I thought was really cool. And then absolutely knocking it out of the park by putting an LED into the sword, giving it a magical glow. Again, Mini Mason wanted to set off his piece with a crafted base for display, using a lot of the terrain and miniature building techniques that I love, complete with an awesome paint job and some nice touches of flocking. Smashed it! And on to the man, the myth, the legend, the crazy crafter himself, Mr. Colin Bressie.
Hey there everyone, it's Colin over at the Crazy Crafter channel. Excited to participate in my buddy Michael Patterson's Sword and Shield challenge. So I'm going to videotape a little bit of it here. I've got my desk set up here ready to go. I'm going to float my head away and just focus in on the craft, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit of my Sword and Shield process. Here we go.
Okay, for Colin's sword design he went for the gladius kind of look, sculpted from green stuff. Colin is a big fan of the old green stuff, and I love the copper wire wrapped handle sword. We will chat a little bit more about wire wrapping in a little bit. Again, like myself and the Mini Mason, Colin's shield was made out of the ever faithful XPS foam, inspired I believe by the ancient Greeks. And not to be outdone, Colin put his terrain building skills to good use, creating a proper display base for his piece using bark and sawdust. And the end result is a blood-spattered piece of awesome crafting goodness.
Finally finished up my Sword and Shield challenge from Nat1 videos, and I frickin' love it. Got a little bit of the bark on there for the stonework, some tufts, like the splatter effect I was able to get on the shield here. This thing is rad.
Talking of green stuff, this next entry is an awesome display of green stuff sculpting skills from Jamatra, Pulp, Atelier. As you can see, Jamatra used grease-proof paper so the green stuff didn't stick, sculpting everything including the tiny rivets around the edges of the shield. For the boss on the shield, they created this awesome gargoyle-like creature, a kind of shield that if you saw it coming towards you in battle, you would be far more likely to run in the opposite direction rather than get into a fight. Beneath the shield there is a pelt of dragon scales, and these were cleverly sculpted by pressing a tiny tool into the green stuff in a repeated pattern. The weapons were made with PVC plastic, which was shaped by sanding the edges I believe, and again more green stuff sculpting for the details. Just look at the eye on the axe head staring into your soul. Once again, this entry has been set off by an awesome piece of old ruins scattered terrain for the display. This entry actually blew my tiny little mind. Okay, when it comes to skill and attention to detail, this next entry has to be one of the finest pieces of crafting I have seen in a while. Coming at this challenge with their entirely unique style, Amy Root from Mouseketeer Forge used wire wrapping combined with UV resin as the basis for her build. I love the mixed colour wrapping around the edges and the use of jewellery details for the boss on the front of the shield, and the petals laid inside the resin just look absolutely beautiful. She even crafted a tiny handle for the back so that a mouse could pick this thing up and take it straight into battle. You can see just how fiddly this whole process was from this footage, picking up individual flowers with tweezers and painting on UV resin around each petal to create the pommels, and again using wire wrapping technique to create some awesome rapier style swords. Amy has literally only been doing this for a couple of months, and already she's built herself a veritable arsenal of mini weapons ready for the rodent apocalypse. After the challenge, Amy went on to create another shield, a wire wrap shield of Gondor, which I was going to include, but I thought it far better just to mention it so that you guys can head over to her Instagram and check it out. Lastly, take a look at this awesome display. These little display racks were designed by our next participant, Zane from Zane Morgan Crafts. So this is an entry that I specifically requested because I was really curious to see how someone with 3D modeling skills would tackle the challenge. Zane is a wizard with Blender and has been making detailed STL files to print out for his terrain builds for quite some time. I think in total it took Zane about 2 hours to make his design, which again blows my mind that you can achieve something so detailed in such a short space of time. Now I'm only including a couple of quick clips here from Zane's process because Zane has actually created a proper video of this build which you can check out over on his YouTube channel, Zane Morgan Crafts. And generously, to celebrate this challenge, Zane is giving away the STL files for the heater shield and buckler design, which you can find in the comments below his video. I've included a link to Zane's video in the comments below this video. Make sure to head over and subscribe, and if you print off his STL, take a photo and tag him on Instagram. Thanks Zane for putting up those STLs for free. That's a really nice way to bring a close to the challenge, which I absolutely loved. Well done to everyone who participated, you guys absolutely rocked it.
So there we go guys, that is the end of this week's video, and I absolutely love this little sword and shield challenge, not just because I enjoyed making them myself, but also just because it was awesome to see how different people approached the same idea and come up with a completely different result, and they were all awesome. So yeah, thanks to everybody who actually tried the challenge. And if you're interested in trying out little challenges like this, I'll be doing little periodic challenges over on my Discord, so there's a link in the description below if you'd like to join. Before I go, I just want to say a massive thank you as always to my patrons who are on the screen right now. There's more content coming for you guys soon over on the Patreon, so yeah, if you're interested and you're not a patron yet and would like to see some more behind the scenes footage and stuff, head over to Patreon and have a look at the tiers there and see what might be of interest to you. Alright guys, that is the end of this week's video. I will probably see you on the Crazy Crafter live stream this weekend. All the best guys, cheers, bye.
Join Colin Bressy, Daniel West and myself every Saturday, 10 AM PST, that's 6 PM UK time, on the Crazy Crafter live stream featuring awesome guests every week from the crafting community. Link in the description below this video.